Hi, I'm Alex Weathersby, and this is my web series review of Any Other Vlog. Any Other Vlog is a vlog style series about a high schooler named Bianca and her friends, and it's loosely based off Mercutio and Benvolio's actions in Romeo and Juliet. There is a Romeo and Juliet style plot, but it does not involve the main character, Bianca. Usually when you do see a Romeo and Juliet inspired web series or just any form of content, usually the main characters are Romeo and Juliet, so it was really nice to kind of have a secondary character perspective. I thought that was really interesting. I also really liked the LGBTQIA representation. Pretty much, I would say all except maybe 2 characters in the cast are LGBTQIA. The Romeo and Juliet-esque characters are a bisexual girl and a pansexual girl. There's also a asexual character who is the Juliet, and there's also a gay man character that has a minor role. There's also dyslexia representation. One of the Romeo-esque type characters who isn't actually the Romeo but has the Romeo style plot has dyslexia, and it's mentioned as a reason that some other characters make fun of them, and it's presented as a very valid reasoning to have a difficult time in school and to have a difficult time reading. The way the series is filmed is very realistic. Their backdrop has a lot of elements of like someone's room, so there's a lot of personal things, personal touches, which was really nice. Sometimes web series sets feel really cold and clinical, kind of like the one I have now. It was really nice of them to make it feel like it was someone's actual room, their actual space. It kind of highlighted that the characters were real people that could be connected with. Sprinkled throughout the narrative series, there's little videos where Bianca will play a song on the ukulele, or there's one where she discusses self-care, which I thought was a really nice thing to highlight in a web series, because that is a really important part of just being human, especially if you're a human that deals with trauma or any type of mental illness. The actor who plays Marcy was definitely my favorite actress in this web series. She was really funny, she was really snarky, all her lines seemed very natural and realistic. I think she was probably my favorite character and actress in this web series. Some things that I didn't like about this web series were there were some audio problems, which just happens if you have really low-level equipment, which you can't wake up and have $1 million to buy a really fancy microphone, so sometimes that happens. Especially when they were filming outside, there was a lot of wind that made a very noticeable effect on their audio, so that just made some of the videos harder to listen to and harder to access. There was a very brief plot line with Bianca's father that I felt was very vague, and it kind of came out of nowhere, and then they didn't really do a whole lot with it. If it had been mentioned earlier and played a slightly bigger part in the general narrative, I would have felt better about it, but it just sounded very vague and I was kind of confused. The narrative may have been better if that had just been left out completely, or if it had just been modified to be more important and to have a bigger part in the story and to be mentioned more often and have a more lasting effect on the narrative itself. I would watch this if you like looser literary adaptations. They do definitely have a twist in that Romeo and Juliet are not the only secret romantic couple going on, and it is a queer romance. So if you're interested in series that kind of take elements of really popular classics and modify them a little bit and twist things around and use some elements but not all, this is probably a really good web series for you to watch. Again, if you like LGBTQIA or queer driven storylines, a lot of the plot lines, especially the big Romeo and Juliet-esque one, are driven by queer LGBTQIA characters. If that's something that you're really looking for in a web series, especially since it's very difficult to find that in general media that aren't coming out stories or stories with very unhappy endings, then this is probably a good one for you to watch. If you like high school series, the series is set, the Romeo and Juliet-esque battle is between 2 separate high schools. So if that's something that you're interested in, is slightly younger characters with slightly different stakes because they're in high school and not college or out in the real world. And there's a lot of cute references to sharks. So if you're into sharks, then you might like this. I don't know. If you prefer TV style adaptations to vlog style web series, I know that happens sometimes. People feel that vlog style series is too much exposition. While there is some filming that does happen outside, it's still characters using the camera and talking to the camera. So if you prefer to see a lot of the action on hand, then this probably isn't the one for you. You prefer to have older characters in a series, so characters who are in college, so that the stakes can be higher and that certain content can be a little more explicit, then this isn't the web series for you. Everything is very age appropriate for high school. And then if you prefer much stricter adaptations or very high production quality, either one of those things, this probably isn't the web series for you. They definitely mess around with the traditional Romeo and Juliet narrative, and that ended up being really cool, but if that's just not your cup of tea, that's okay. And then in terms of really high production quality, this is a web series that was made by high school students, so it's really remarkable. The writing and the acting and the filming and editing, it's really remarkable that they did such a great job when they have such little experience and they're so young. But if you only want to watch series that had a ton of money put into it and that are from really big companies that have a lot of opportunity and a lot of support and a lot of money to put into it, then this is not the web series for you. That's all I have for today. Throughout the series, sprinkled within the narrative. Sorry. God, what is she up